Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to talk about authentication in Phoenix. And in order to do that, we're going to use the built-in Phoenix authentication generator. So just like the CRUD generators that we used a couple of videos ago, this is also a generator and the syntax is very similar to the CRUD generator. Now, pay close attention to what I just said. Authentication generator. This is a generator, not a package, okay? Which means that we're going to run a command. This command will generate the code, and then moving forward, it is your responsibility to maintain, customize, and update the code. And you might be thinking, whoa, why didn't the Phoenix core team decided to use a package? Why did they go with the code generator? Well, there's an entire blog post written by José Valim on his company website, Dashbit, explaining why he decided to use a generator. And the TLDR is that, if you don't know, José Valim was part of the core team from Rails for many years, and he was also responsible for the device package. And if you don't know, device is one of the most famous authentication packages for Rails. And then he explains the history behind it, that initially they went for a very magical approach where instead of you having access to the database columns that were generated, you just added this field trackable, rememberable, recoverable. So it was very magical and you didn't have access to the low level implementation of the code. And then many people complained about it. Many people said that this is not at all customizable. If you wanted to change a specific thing about any of those magic columns, you didn't have access to them. So you either used a package that did everything for you, or you built your authentication system from scratch. So after many years of experience with this, José Valim decided that the best approach was to just generate the code, and then from now on, you do whatever you want with the code, okay? But I'm gonna link both of these links on the description of this video so you can take a read, okay? Now, let's copy this command. And this is just a regular generator. So I'm gonna open the terminal and whoops, I don't wanna copy the whole thing. I just wanna copy the command here. We're going to run mix phx.gen.auth, and we're going to follow the same syntax of the CRUD generators. First, it's the context name, followed by the schema name, followed by the database name. And some people like using accounts instead of users. I think I prefer users, to be honest, and keep everything to users. But because many people like accounts, I think I'm gonna stick to the convention of using accounts, okay? Now, by default, this is going to generate the views, right? And you can choose if you want a controller-based views or live view. Now, live view is the default because the user experience in the end is much better. So if you click enter, it's going to use live view by default. Then the first thing that we need to do is install dependencies. So let's run mix deps.get. Okay. And then the next thing that we need to do is migrate, because a couple of database tables were generated. So let me paste this here. Okay. Now I'm going to go over like the main concepts behind this authentication system, like the main building blocks that you have access to, how to customize it. But since this is not a package, like the best thing that you can do to learn how this works is generate the code yourself and read the comments. Because as we're about to see, there are many comments, thank God, on this generator. So you can handle yourself on your own, like no problem. So the first thing that I wanted to show is the mix.exs file. As I said, this is not a package, but we do need to install some packages. Actually, one package to be more specific. We have Bcrypt Elixir. This is the package responsible for hashing your passwords before storing on the database. And that's it. That's the only package that you need. And then there is one tiny configuration that we add for this package. So you can open up config test. As we can see, by default, Bcrypt Elixir is going to use 12 rounds, log rounds to hash your password before saving on the database. And this is very CPU intensive. So of course, in production, you want to use the default of 12 log rounds, which is the safest approach. But whenever you're running tests, imagine having to wait. Every time you create a user, you're going to have to wait 12 log rounds to hash the password. This is not very practical, right? And in testing, we don't really care about security, only in production. So by default, we're gonna change the 12 rounds to 1 for the tests. Okay, now let's see where the magic happens. If we open up the lib folder, let's see the shop folder first. We have the accounts folder. We have this file user. This is where you can find the schema, right? So we have your pretty traditional email, password, hashed password, current password, and confirmed at. A very handy optional parameter that they use here for the password is redact. So whenever like you're listing the users on the terminal or doing anything related to the users, this is going to hide the password from you. So this way you don't have a way to see the hashed password or the password. And then we have a bunch of handy functions here, like the registration change set. And as I said, this is heavily documented. So if you want to customize anything here, it's super easy. So for example, let's say that you want a very secure password. How is the password being validated on this generator? Well, let's take a look. Scroll down, we have this function, validate email. Let's check this out. Oh, it's right here. Oh, no, sorry, not the validate email. I want validate password. By default, we're checking if the password has a minimum of 12 characters and maximum of 72. That's it. Now, if you want at least one lowercase character, for example, you can uncomment this validate format. Or maybe you want at least one uppercase character, uncomment this one. So that's what I mean by the code is generated, but it is so easy to customize because like there are comments here. You don't even need to think about customizing your password validation. There are already comments here for the most common options that people go with whenever they want to validate a password. So extremely useful. And yeah, we just have a bunch of functions here to validate the user before we create it. Now, the important part is these two other files. We have user token, and as you can see, we have a schema here, meaning that this is a database table. And we can even open up real quick the migrations folder to take a look. We have created two tables, the users table, a couple of index, of course, and the users tokens table. So by default, we're using database-backed sessions for the authentication system in Phoenix. So we store the session on the database and this is more secure because, for example, let's say that you change the password and you are logged in on your cell phone, on a computer, maybe a hacker got access to your account. So you access your account, you change the password. If your sessions are not backed by a database, you cannot like delete the other sessions. You cannot log out the other users. But by using the database, you can change the password, delete all the sessions. This way you can kick out the hacker from your account. So it is safer. It is also more complex than using just sessions in the cookies, for example, but it is safer. So by default, we have two tables. And here's an interesting observation that I want to mention, which is on the email field, we have collate no case. And this is specific to SQLite because that's the database that we're doing. We want to do a case insensitive search for the email. So if you want to search for my email with like all the letters uppercase or lowercase, doesn't matter. I want the same email as a result to show up. So in SQLite, we have this collate no case, but if you were using Postgres and you generated the authentication using the generator, instead of having collate no case here, we would have email site text, and then right on top you would have like this extension from Postgres being enabled. Okay, but this is just a tiny observation. So we have two database tables, one for users, another one of tokens to track the sessions. We also use this table to trigger the forget password feature. But then let me go back. Yeah, here we have the schema, a bunch of useful functions. As always, we have a lot of documentation if you want to customize anything. So yeah. We also have the user notifier because we have user confirmation with the authentication generator. So whenever you create an account, we send an email to confirm your account. So we have this deliver function, and then under the hood, this is using a package called swoosh to deliver the email. So you can open up Mix, search for swoosh, there you go. This is responsible for sending emails. Now, this package is not configured to use any service. So by default, we're not gonna send this in production. You need to manually integrate with like resend, SendGrid or something, and then change your config files. So we have the code responsible for sending the emails, but we are not integrated with any service for now. So there's a tiny bit of extra work that you need to do in order to use this in production. You need to integrate with a service. And that's it. User notifier. Okay, now let's take a look. Of course, we also have the accounts where we have the most common functionality for users, which is like getting by the email, get user by email and password. So pretty normal functions for the contexts. Now I'm gonna open up the shop web. First, I want to show you the router. As you can see, we're importing on top shopweb.userauth, and we're gonna take a look here later. But this is pretty much like, whoops. This is pretty much a bunch of functions that you can use here as plugs. So fetch current user is coming from UserAuth. We also have, where is it? Redirect if user is unauthenticated. This is also coming from shopweb.userauth. But let's take a look at the routes real quick. This is the authenticated routes. And as you can see, I haven't recorded a course on live view yet, but I'm gonna do it in the future. So just a quick TLDR of the difference in the router. Instead of writing get, post, put, or delete, if you have a route that is a live view, you're gonna add live, and then we use the convention of naming the resource with the resource name followed by live. So instead of having user login controller, user registration controller, we have user forgot password live, user reset password live. We don't use a controller when we're using live view. But that's just a tiny observation. We're gonna have a dedicated video just about live view. So we have these new routes, and yeah. Now let's take a look at the UserAuth. Here is where you can also configure a couple of things. So for example, by default, we have user confirmation, but we do not prevent the user from using the application if he doesn't confirm his account. Now, personally, I don't like the settings. I would like to have the user confirmed before he uses our app. And if you want to change this, we have a very handy function here. Where is it? Renew session, no. Fetch current user, nope. Oh, I think it's the first one. Where is it? Nope. Logs the user. Let me search for confirm. Okay, yeah. This function is what's being used as a plug on our router. It's called require authenticated user. Now, if you want to enforce the user email is confirmed before they use the application at all, here would be a good place. So as always, the documentation is pointing us to the correct file to change if you want to customize this behavior. If this was a package, you wouldn't have this level of control over the code. But since this is just code generation, you can change it. So if you want to add any logic to check if the user is confirmed before using the application, here would be a good place to do it. All right. And in terms of files, this is pretty much all that I wanted to show. Of course, we have all the front-end files. We have, if you open up live, we have lots and lots of pages and components, but this is just implementation details. I don't want to talk about it because it's a lot of files. And then to finish the files overview, I just wanted to show the testing, and then we can see the interface together. So in terms of testing, we have an accounts test, we have the controllers test. We actually have one controller just in case the user doesn't have WebSocket, like if the WebSocket connection fails or he has, for example, JavaScript disabled, then he's not going to be able to use live view. And then we have this controller sort of as a fallback, just to make sure that the user is able to authenticate without live view. So we have a test for the only controller that was generated. And of course, we have tests for all the live views. And then of course, we also have the fixtures to generate the user. One thing that I like to show is this one. Handling sessions during the tests of Phoenix is a bit complicated. So we have these utils functions that we can use to create a user. And then we init a test session. We put the session here inside the session cookie. And then we can use this login user on every single test that was generated. But that's enough. Now let's take a look at the interface. I'm gonna run IEX. Okay, let me go back to. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, my face is right on top. Let me move myself here. Okay, we have the register page, login. So I'm gonna say register. Oh, this is too big. Register an account. Yep, I'm gonna say Daniel@email.com. Okay, create an account. Account created successfully. Nice. As we can see, now we have this on the header. We have my email, we have settings and logout. If I go to settings, I can change my email, change my current password. So let's say that I want to change my password to password 1234. And then, whoops, no, this is changing the email. I'm going to change the password. So current password, it's one. Okay, new password will be password 1234. Password 1234. Okay, change password. Password updated successfully. Nice. And as I mentioned, there is user confirmation. And where is my email? Is there a way of checking the emails that were sent in Phoenix? Yes. If you are using Swoosh, which is the default email package for Phoenix, you can simply open up localhost port 4000, and then I think it's dev mailbox. Yeah. So we have the mailbox, we have one message sent, shop confirmation instructions. Hi Daniel, you can confirm your account by visiting the URL below. Interesting. So I'm gonna copy this link right here, paste it on the URL, and then confirm account. Yes. User email is invalid or has it expired? Huh, interesting. I think, let me just do the following. I'm gonna log out. Logged out successfully. I'm gonna go back to dev mailbox confirmation instructions. Is it? Oh, maybe I copied the wrong link. Let me copy this again. Confirm account. Yeah, it has expired. I'm gonna try to log in again. See if this way we can see the email. There. Gmail.com. Okay, log in. Need a let email or password. Oh, I think I know what's happened. Like I didn't confirm my account and then I changed the password. So I'm gonna try to create a new account and then show you the email confirmation working. So I'm gonna click on register. I'm gonna say random at email.com, password 1234, create an account. Okay, now I'm gonna go to /dev mailbox. Okay, confirmation instructions again. We got a new link for this random user. I'm gonna copy this, paste, confirm account. User confirmed successfully. Okay, that worked. And we can see here on top, random at email.com. We have the settings to change the email, change the password, and also to log out. So that's it. A quick overview of the Phoenix authentication system. As you can see, this is just code that was generated. So the best way of learning this authentication system is to generate the code yourself and then read it. That's the best crash course on this authentication system. So that's it. See you next time.